Welcome back to MVM. Thanks for joining me today as I bring you another look at an upcoming new game. This time I'm talking about the game ScandalOh from Megacorp. Now, I'm a big fan of the game Awkward Guests. You may have heard of that game. This is not a sequel to that game, but it is a follow-up from the same publisher that also uses that brilliant deck system. So if you're familiar with that system, you'll kind of know a little bit of what you're expecting here, but the gameplay itself is different. Now, the cool thing about that brilliant deck system is that every game comes with a bunch of different decks, and you're going to be taking cards from those different decks to form basically a new deck. Now, what that means effectively is that you're going to get a completely different gameplay experience every time you play. There are 250 cards in this game, and you're using a different amount of cards every game based on the scandal that you're playing, because at the core of this game, you are trying to deduce a scandal that is happening. So this is the world of celebrity journalism, where you are literally kind of tracking down a celebrity, trying to figure out what scandal they're being embroiled in, who is helping them with that scandal, and ultimately, which newspaper is willing to publish a story about this scandal. And you're doing this all kind of with a sheet that almost looks like something you'd have in a roll and write, but this is not like that, but you are going to be marking up your sheet over the course of the game as you deduce information, because that's kind of the key here. You're always going to be looking at the pieces of information you have and trying to deduce specific things about it. Each player has a player aid that's going to actually help you track all that information. There's a lot on here, and it's a lot of symbols and icons and things like that, but as you play the game, you realize it's actually very compartmentalized, and they make it very easy to understand the game. Now, if you're looking at the player sheets here, and you'll see that there, again, is a lot of information on them. But it's divided up into 3 categories, showing the 3 types of things you're trying to deduce. Up here, you're deducing what type of scandal you're uncovering. Each one of these scandals can be in a different category, and each one of these scandals requires different elements for that scandal to be complete. Each one of these different elements here is going to be given to the celebrity by their list of contacts. So you're deducing this, you're also deducing a celebrity. And you'll see these celebrities are marked here with lines connecting them to all these different characters. As you decide who's being connected to who's helping who, you're going to see these same icons listed down here. So as you see who a celebrity is connected to, you're going to figure out which of these icons they could be gaining, which is going to help you deduce which of the scandals they're pulling off. For example, if they're connected to a bunch of contacts that give them authority, then you're looking for that police hat symbol, and you're figuring out which one of these scandals need authority. Now, in each one of these scandals, there only is one right answer. So it's not like you're going to be left in the dark. There is definitely a clear path. You can use your deduction to find the perfect solution. And then down at the bottom, you're going to see the 4 different newspapers that might carry your story. Now, the icons for the different cases, the icons for the different characters are all present down at the bottom as well. As you determine that a newspaper is not going to run a story on a particular scandal or a particular celebrity, you can cross that information off until you're left with just one. So each one of these sections is actually its own set of deductions, but they all intertwine as well. If you can figure out which characters are assisting which celebrities, then you have a good chance of figuring out the scandal, and then you just have to figure out the newspaper. So you're doing all of this throughout the game by looking at cards. Now, you can almost think of this as a beefier, meatier game of Clue. Every player is going to have a set of cards in their hand, and they're going to use the information on that cards to help them make decisions. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to build a deck based on which of the scandals you've chosen. These scandals are marked with difficulties, so you'll be able to choose anything from a beginner to an expert case based on kind of your skill at the game and your skill at deduction games, period. But that setup is going to tell you which cards to pull from the deck. Now, it's important that you don't look at the cards. You're going to look at the numbers. Every card has a number attached to it, and you're going to pull out the numbers that are relevant to that case, and you're going to deal out cards to every player. This is going to kind of make up that player's starting hand. Now, each one of these cards is going to give you some sort of information, and it's going to have a number on it telling you how much information it gives you. You could have 1 or 2 pieces of information on each card. Each card is basically going to say a particular character is not involved in the scandal, in which case you could just mark them off on your player sheet. You're also going to have cards like this one that says a particular scandal is not even in play, so I'll go ahead and cross that off. And you're going to have cards that point to specific associates, saying that they do not provide particular icons. These can be crossed off. And then you're going to have claims, which are circles that will point you to a specific newspaper or a specific icon. You'll have cards that cross off connections, saying that you'll have to trace a different path to that contact. And then you have cards like this one that say a particular celebrity is not involved in a particular scandal. So by doing so, I'm starting to actually narrow down who is providing what, which scandals that could possibly be. Now, you're going to have all these cards in your starting hand. So you're going to have a little bit of a head start on your particular board, which you're going to hide behind the screen so no one else can see it. Because during the game, you're going to be trying to gain information from other players. And this is the actual way the game is played. On your turn, you're going to be able to ask for an offering. You're going to choose 3 elements of the game. You're either going to choose one of the particular celebrities, you're going to choose one of the particular newspapers, you're going to choose one of the particular associates that could be pressing information, or you're going to choose a specific location. Now, the reason that this matters is because you're going to get this information from other players. Locations are important because they'll tell you basically which contacts might be at that location and some of the elements that are present in that location. And this is, again, all listed on your player aid, so you can investigate these locations. You could do more than one of the same type if you want, but you're going to put these arrows out so every player knows kind of what you're looking at. They're going to look at their hands and they're going to make you an offer. They're going to offer to exchange information with you based on this. Now, they have to give you cards that at least have those symbols. So I can't play a card that doesn't have Ed or Ike or the M associate. So if I have those, I'm going to place them face down in front of me, and I'm going to choose one of these numbered tokens to sum up how much information I'm giving. Remember, those numbers in the corner tell you how much you're gathering from each card. So if I have a total of 5 here, I'll place this down and I'll place the 5 on it to show that I am giving you 5 pieces of information effectively. Now, you as the player trying to make the trade are going to look at all the offers that all the players make, and you're going to choose the one that you want the most. So 5 pieces of information is pretty good. But what that means is that I have to give you at least 5 value worth of information back. Not an equal card trade 1-to-1, but I have to give you 5 pieces, which means if I only have level 1 cards in my hand, I have to give you 5 of them in order to take these cards. However, taking those cards is good. It's going to give me access to new information. It's also going to tell me a little bit of what you know. I know you know that, and I know you're going to know what I'm handing you. So you can start to see what other players are deducing, and you can see what they're looking for out here as well. This is the kind of meta element to the game, because if I know that you've already narrowed down that it's Amy, but yet you're looking for information on Amy, maybe I'm having second thoughts. Maybe the information that I got from you isn't pointing to Amy after all, or maybe you're just trying to trick me. So there is a whole meta aspect of players trying to second guess each other, deduce not only what's happening in the case, but also what each other player knows. Because when I'm looking for specific information, I want to try to get new things. Now, after that offering phase is done, I'm going to pass to the next player, and they're going to take the same set of actions. But once every player is done, we're going to get the chance to guess the scandal if we can. Each player is going to have one of these happy face tokens, and these are double-sided. You have that red side, and you have that yellow side. If you think you can uncover this scandal right now, which means you know the scandal itself, you know the celebrity that's part of the scandal, and you have a newspaper lined up to carry it, then you can put out your yellow face side. If you don't think you have enough information, you can put out your red face side, and that's saying, I don't know, I'm not going to try to solve. Every player that thinks they know that put up the yellow face is going to try to solve the scandal immediately. They're going to look in the rulebook to the solution, and they're going to look at their player sheet and see if it matches what they've guessed. If it doesn't, then they're out. They don't tell other players what they guessed. They don't tell other players how much information they had correct. You just know you failed your guess. So you really don't want to make that guess until you're sure. You don't want to just shoot in the dark unless you think maybe somebody's about to beat you to it. Because if multiple players solve it at the same time, then you all win. At which case, you reveal your player sheets, you show that you've picked the right things, you show the solution, and everybody knows. But if you're out, and play is going to continue just with players that didn't try to solve the case. So you'll take your tokens back, and the remaining players will continue playing as normal. Now, you know, there's some player elimination there, but the game is not going to run very long. This is like a 45-minute game, and if you're already at a point where you're guessing information, it's probably another turn or two until every other player figures out the actual scandal. Now, at the end of the phase, after the guesses have been made, every player is going to discard down to 3 cards. You're going to discard these cards face down to make a discard pile basically off to the side. This is important because it's going to help you cycle information through the game. Then, each player is going to draw back up to 7 cards from the remaining Scandal deck. Once the Scandal deck is empty, that's when you're going to shuffle that discard pile back into the deck. However, you're going to reveal 3 cards for every player to know. So this information is going to be given to everybody at this point. So it's going to kind of speed the game along. Then you're going to draw back up, like I said, and you're going to continue playing the game with those different phases. Eventually, you will be able to deduce the Scandal. Now, you will want to make some of those leaps of faith. You can't wait until you have perfect information that has been confirmed by multiple sources. You're going to have to look, and you're going to have to go with your gut a little bit, because the player that goes with their gut, that guesses right, is going to have a little bit of an advantage against you. Now, the reason I say that is because there's a lot of misinformation present in here. You might have some icons that are part of the Scandal that aren't actually needed by the Scandal. So it's your job to kind of filter through those. You might have a few newspapers that are willing to carry it, but then when you start narrowing it down, you see that only one of them is actually the one that's actually willing to carry it, even if they might have been open to it at the beginning. So there's just a lot of deduction here. This is 100% a deduction game, and I think it's worth mentioning that it's not social deduction. I'm not asking questions around the table. I'm not asking for you to tell the truth. When you're placing your bids down, I don't have to try to guess if you're bluffing me or not. When you're placing your offers, they have to contain whatever I'm asking about. So you kind of know other players aren't necessarily trying to lie, and you as a player aren't lying at all. You're just passing cards. Now, you can still try to bluff opponents by giving them cards that fit their requirements, but also don't really give them any new information. So there's multiple levels of strategy going on, but ultimately, you're just trying to deduce the Scandal, which is really cool. I honestly really like this brilliant deck system. I think that the ability to just have all of these different possible cases, I mean, there are tons of cases, and the potential to have even more that are just being built out of these decks. So that is ScandalOh. The game is coming to Kickstarter soon, so you'll be able to check out that Kickstarter page to see what all the final components are going to look like. What you see out here is not final, although it looks pretty close. You're going to have player boards, and you're going to have all the decks of cards and boards and things like that. So be sure to take a look at their page, and then let me know in the comments below what you think about ScandalOh, if you're excited about that brilliant deck system, and also what are maybe some other cool things that they could do with this system. I think, kind of like Chronicles of Crime, they can spread out across multiple genres and do these really cool deduction games. So I'm really excited to see what comes next from them. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and have fun at the table.
Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.